All right, welcome back. We are on the third part of the video review. I'm going to finish up number 27 and take f and put into g. So when I take f of x and put it into g of the g of x function, the 3 minus will still be there. So here we go. Now I'll actually start it. And now I'm going to put f of x in, and then I'm going to square it. So the first thing I'm going to do is the exponent part of the problem because the exponent gets the parentheses before that subtraction in front of it does. So I'm going to cube um, square x cubed minus squared times another x cubed minus x squared. And when I do that, I get x to the sixth. Then I get a negative x to the fifth and another negative x to the fifth, which gives me two of them. And then I'm going to get a positive x to the fourth. Again, this minus applies to everything in here, and then the 3. So if you notice, it's just coming down. And now I'm going to distribute my subtraction. So then it becomes plus 2x to the fifth and plus negative x to the fourth. I added the opposite. And now I'm just going to write my answer in standard form. So going back to the answer blank, my answer in standard form would be negative x to the sixth plus 2x to the fifth plus negative x to the fourth, and then plus 3. And again, I don't have any issues with my domain, so it's going to be all real numbers. Whoops. All right, there we go. Let's move on to the next page. All right, moving on to problem 28. I'm doing some more composite functions. It just depends what goes into what. So on the first one, g is going to go into f. And when it goes into f, it's just going to go into x. So I'm going to do that first. So the 2 and the 3 is still going to be there. So there's the 2, and in for x goes 4x squared. I'm supposed to take that plus 3, and now I'm just going to clean it up. So I'm going to distribute the 2 in, and I get 8x squared plus 3. No issues with my domain, so I'm just going to write all real numbers. All right, the next one. This time, I'm taking h and putting it in to g. So all of this is going to go into that little x right there, and then I'm going to square it all. So the 4 is still going to be there, and in for x goes x plus 5 over 2 squared. And again, the squared is going to get the parentheses before the 4. So here's the 4 just coming along, and that parentheses means I'm supposed to take x plus 5 over 2 times another x plus 5 over 2. So just focusing on the denominator, the 2 times 2 gives me 4. And then I'm going to multiply the x plus 5 times x plus 5. I'm going to FOIL it, and I get x squared plus 10x plus 25. And now comes the original 4 that was in the problem. And then what happens is these 4's cancel out. So when I'm done, my final answer is x squared plus 10x plus 25. Again, no issues with the domain, so all real numbers. All right, on the last problem, I'm going to take h of x, and this time it's going into f of x. So it's going to go into this one little x right there. So the 2 is still going to be there, but in for x now is going to be x plus 5 over 2, and I still have the plus 3. And real quick, what happens are my 2's cancel out, and then I have x plus 5 plus 3, and I'm just going to combine my like terms and get x plus 8. So again, no issues, all real numbers is your domain. All right, let's go to the inverse functions. So inverse functions. Remember to find the inverse, you simply always switch x and y around. So f of x is y in both of these. And so what I'm going to do is switch the place of x and y. So it's now x equals 2y cubed plus 3 over 7. And now my job is to get this new y by itself. So the first thing to get y by itself is I'm going to multiply both sides by 7. So the 7 on the right side goes away. The next thing I'm going to do is subtract 3 from both sides. From there, I'm going to divide by 2. And the last step to get y by itself, since they cube it, I'll undo that by cube rooting it. So the whole side over here will be cube rooted. So the cubed root of 7x minus 3 over 2. And there's no need to worry about um, rationalizing any denominators here. But I am going to write it in inverse notation by putting the -1 in for my f of x function. All right, this one, what I'm going to do, I've already switched the g of x for y. So now what I'm going to do is just switch x and y spot. But I'm actually going to make this plus -1 with the y squared. And now my first step to move is the 3, so I'm going to subtract 3. Now I'm going to divide by -1. And when I divide by -1, that just switches the signs in my x minus 3. So it becomes negative x plus 3. And now my last step to get y by itself is to square root both sides. So when I'm done, I get the square root of negative x plus 3. And again, I'm just going to write it in inverse notation. So the -1 goes into the f of x. All right, 31. I'm telling you that these two functions, f of x and g of x, are inverses of each other. And you're going to prove that to me, or you're going to verify it to me, I should say, by using composite functions. So f goes into g and g goes into f. And when I'm done simplifying, I should just be left with x. You cannot just simply substitute in, cross everything out but the x. You have to show your work for this problem step by step. If you don't, you aren't going to get any work from this for this problem. So the first time I'm going to take g and I'm going to put it into f. So here's the 1/4 still there, but in for x goes my square root, but I'm actually going to rewrite it, if you notice over here, as an exponent, because I think you'll see the simplifying just a little bit better. So it's going to become a 3/2 power. So that's what's going to go in for x. And now x in the original problem is to the 2/3 power. So all of this is supposed to be to the 2/3 power. And then I still have the -5. And the first thing that goes here, cleaning it up, I'm going to deal with the exponents. They cancel out. Notice I'm writing the next step. I'm not assuming that anyone knows what I'm doing. The next thing I'm going to do is distribute the 1/4. So I get x plus 5 minus 5. And then yes, here I can clearly see that you just get x. But notice all the work that I did to get there. All right, the next time I do this problem, I'm going to take f, and I'm going to take all of this and put it into here. And I'm going to still leave it as the exponent. So here's the 4 that's part of the problem, and in for x goes f of x. And then that's still plus 20. And then all of this is to a 3/2 power. And again, don't just cross everything out but x. You're going to have to show me how you get there. So the first thing that I'm going to do is inside the parentheses clean this up. So this 4 is going to distribute to those two things. There's the plus 20 that's there. Again, this is all to a 2 or 3/2 power. My 20s are going to cancel out within the parentheses. And now at this point, the exponents will cancel each other out. So I get x. Again, you have to show your work for this. Otherwise, you aren't going to get any credit for it. All right, I'm going to wrap this up with the graphing. Make sure your cheat sheet is filled out correctly. I will not be giving you completed cheat sheets for this. When I go about this, I'm going to graph the original points and then I'm going to shift them. So real quick, this is going to -6 is going to shift this left right, and +1 is going to shift it up down. So -6 means it's going to go left, and +1 means it's going to go up. So real quick, the original points. Looking at just this part is the only part I'm graphing right now, and A is 1. So those are my original points. I used my cheat sheet, and now they're all going to shift left 6, up 1. And you know, this one's going to go off the graph so you guys can see it. I'm just going to squish it over here, even though it should be a little bit further over. And now I'm going to connect my new points. And remember, this gets arrows because these keep going on and on and on. All right, next one is also a cube root. So when I graph it, I am going to graph it with just the A. When I look at how it's going to shift right 2 times, but then it's not going to shift up and down at all. So here's my original points. Again, I just used my cheat sheet, and now they're all going to shift again to the right too. So here they go. And when I connect these, I'm going to make sure I include arrows at the end because again, this one keeps going and going and going. All right, next one. Now I'm into my square roots. So again, the first thing I'm going to graph is just this, but they will shift left 3 and down 2 based on H and K. So here's my original points. And now I'm going to shift them. So left 3 and down 2. And again, when you guys do this, I suggest you mark it with different markers, dots versus X's and stuff. Now this one has a starting point and then it keeps going. So an arrow only at one end, and don't extend it beyond this X point right here because those points don't exist. If I put any numbers in over in this side, like X is -7, when I put X is -7 into here, I'll be working with imaginary numbers, and we don't graph imaginary numbers. All right, last graphing one. So again, the first thing I'm going to graph is just this. So real quick, using my cheat sheet. And then they're going to shift right 3 times and down 1 time based on H and K. And this one goes a little bit off the graph, but that's okay. So again, it's going to start and then keep going. So I'll have an arrow on one point, but not an arrow at this point. This is a starting point, so don't extend it beyond. All right, let's get into the solving part. I think actually at this point what I'll do is I'll just start a new video with the solving part. So if that's the only part that you need to look at, then you're good to go.